Welcome to the Business Women Australia podcast show, the podcast that brings together industry leaders to discuss the latest trends, insights and strategies. So sit back and relax, let's get inspired by the amazing women who are shaping the future of professional women in Australia. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
So welcome to those of you who are listening live to our podcast show today, the first one for 2025. And for those of you who are on catch-up, it's lovely to have you listening to our conversation. I'm Lyn Hawkins. I'm the National Director and the founder of Business Women Australia. And I'm really excited to have my gorgeous friend and the very talented Ann Maree O'Callaghan, a co-director of Value Creators, in our virtual studio today. Ann Maree is going to share her insights into the challenges and opportunities for rural women in business. But before we get into our conversation, I'd just like to let you know that I'm actually, and I think Ann Maree is also in WA. We're both on holidays. We've come in and we're really looking forward to sharing this conversation. We're on the lands of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and I'd like to pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. So we'll hear in this show what inspired Ann Maree to focus on regional, rural and remote enterprises and explore the power of community in rural businesses. As a highly experienced entrepreneur, business consultant and stakeholder engagement professional, Ann Maree has inspired owners and founders of over 500 regional businesses. And that's probably getting up to 1,000, over 1,000, I think, since we last did this bio. Your reach has been really quite extraordinary through your Jumpstart program as well as your consulting practice. So what I've been really inspired seeing Ann Maree's career develop over many years is the way that she's developed these strategic pathways and solutions through very complex and uncertain venture creations. And people seek her for her strategic nous and her ability to help them understand how to renew and transform their businesses to accelerate growth. Look, she has exceptional people skills, and you're going to get that through this conversation. And before we get into the challenges and opportunities that are facing rural and regional women in business, Ann Maree, just share with us and our listeners what inspired you and your co-director, Maree Gooch at Value Creators, to focus on regional, rural and remote enterprises, and tell us particularly about the work that you're doing with women in these areas.
Yeah, thanks for the wonderful introduction as always, Lyn. Yeah, Value Creators is definitely a passion project between Maree Gooch and myself. And it like many great ideas, it came out of many hours travelling around WA in a car and flying around the state, spending many hours driving, flying and chatting, and really seeing the need for regional communities to have greater opportunity. And we just kept hearing really similar stories, very much along the lines of what you're saying, where people would start things and struggle to get them finished because they didn't have that strategic pathway. Or people had ideas, but just had no courage or confidence or knowledge of how to take a step in the direction towards their idea, their goal. So that real sense of what do I do? How do I achieve things was really lacking. And we just kept hearing over and over stories of people either trying stuff but failing, or really wanting to do something, but really not knowing how to get started. So we kind of, in many respects, took our own advice, which is, you actually need to make change happen by doing something. So if we wanted to see that happen, we needed to do something together rather than how we were operating, which was quite successfully as individual sole businesses. So that needed a new vehicle. It needed a new kind of platform for us to really launch from, to enable us to do that and to bring other people with us, because you can only achieve so much when you're an individual. But when you create an environment where people can come and collaborate with you, then you can achieve a lot more. So Value Creators was really born out of that level of passion and intelligence, I guess, that we had from all the work that we were doing. And so that was in 2018. And, like many businesses, it's gone through its own, ups and downs. And we've had to dig deep into our own knowledge and resilience to ensure that Value Creators is a success, and that it does do the things that it actually really encourages others to do as well. So I feel very fortunate every day that I get to walk that journey together with Maree Gooch and Lauren Schutz, who is now our number one, kind of driving third person in our team. And really, we are the beneficiaries of all those networks and all those connections that separately we have created over many, many years. We're now benefiting from that, because a large number, we've probably got about 14 or so, what we call our associates. And so these are people that are located all around WA and further afield in Australia. And they can come and collaborate with us and work with us, and we work with them. So it's that sense of creating a platform where people can actually come and do partnership work with you and still be located in a regional location. So we've got this amazing network of other people, and predominantly women, that have their own small business and are located regionally, that also we can benefit from, and vice versa. So there's a fair bit of, what we encourage others to do, all wrapped up in Value Creators itself.
Yeah, it's I want to talk about trust, but I think we'll come back to that sort of later on. Before we get to that, and and how we build trust in businesses, because everything that's underlying your success, I think, has come from this extraordinary trust that you and Maree have had, and that the trust that you build in that others have in you and in each other. But what are the unique challenges that are facing rural women and regional women, and obviously remote women who are even, further away from those sort of urban and city centres?
Yeah, and I think that those inherent kind of challenges were what really we kept hearing. The feedback that we would have, the repeated conversations from really random and unconnected people who were saying similar things. And a lot of it is about opportunity. So when you're remote, when you are isolated, that becomes a factor. And even just last year, the RRR network, the Rural Regional Remote Women's Network of WA, put out a survey report called What Regional Women Want, and a survey of what regional women want. And the key challenges keep coming up around, at a community level, around health, education, and connectedness. So those sorts of things around social resources, health, education, housing is another big issue as well. At a community level, they keep coming up. Then what we also pick up on, and especially you referred to our Women's STEM Jumpstart program, and what that program really unearthed through the work that we did, and really it was a kind of deep dive across WA in terms of what women are looking for and what's holding them back as key challenges. And one word or two words come to mind really quickly: confidence. The confidence to get started, the confidence to do something, the confidence to reach out and make change happen. So a sense of confidence and that sense of self-belief that, or self-efficacy, that you can actually initiate the things you want to have an impact on. And connection, that's the other key word that really comes. And whilst connection can be literally the digital connection, that's a challenge for rural and regional people. That is a challenge, the digital connection. But there's also the people connection and the networks. So connectedness, both at that digital level and at the people level, and the networks that we have. We keep seeing that as a challenge. And, the confidence one is a big one, because until we unlock that one as an individual, some of the other challenges don't get kind of addressed. But certainly at a community level, distance, isolation, access to resources, and the additional cost of doing things is a real barrier. And if you're already struggling financially, the cost associated with retraining, with more education, with starting your own business, with exploring other opportunities can actually be, really debilitating and a real block. And then at that personal level, that sense around how do I actually build the mindset that I need to do? That's a challenge. How do I actually navigate all of this? And because we've got access to lots of information now, but how do I actually, navigate my pathway? So finding pathways and identifying those pathways is a real challenge.
It's one of those interesting scenarios, isn't it, where just knowing what the first step is. And so I love the name of your program as Jump Start, because if just jump into something and start with a small step, you can identify then where the next stepping stone is. Sometimes, I think of the analogy, and both of us are country kids, growing up in the Midwest of Western Australia, Three Springs, you were around the Karoo area, not too far, just up the road from us.
Rival towns, Lyn.
Rival towns in the footy comp and the netball comp and the hockey comp. And the interesting thing is, I think about, puddles, stepping stones across the creek. Sometimes you get to the third stone, you can't really see where the next stone's going to be to get across. And there might be two options to go. But until you get to the middle of that sort of section, you can't really make the decision. You might not be able to see it from where you're standing before you start, but stepping in and then being able to see, your visibility becomes a bit more clear the little bit further in to the creek you get. So, thinking of that analogy, if we think about those unique challenges, they are very unique and they're very different to the things that our urban counterparts would take for granted. We've got the overwhelm almost of opportunities. Sometimes the stepping stone is almost like there's just so many, like which one do I take? What if I get it wrong? All that sort of, and that's then underlined by the confidence of starting and the permission of making a mistake. Do you think that can come up too in the rural setting, sort of this fear of trying to get it right?
Yeah, I definitely think that you can feel like you're under the spotlight a little bit more, because it's a lot harder to hide in a small community and we're exposed. So, and people have, expectations of themselves and of others as well. And that first step, though, is the hardest one. And any great kind of journey starts, the whole analogy of that first step is very valid. The thing with taking that first step is, and then going on to the next one, is each time you do that, we do this, there's this concept called broaden and build, where we actually, by taking each step, we broaden our capacity to think about what we are wanting to achieve. Just with each milestone, we actually expand our thinking. And that actually, at a neuroscience level, fires neurons in our brain that builds new connection in our brain that actually helps us then go to the next one and the next one. And with each increasing, distance we get from where we were, we're actually really broadening our capacity to cope with the barriers or the challenges. And in doing so, we build our resources along the way. So it's this whole concept of broaden and build with each step, each of those pebbles, if you like. And we build our resources just with one connection that's building a resource, who then is connected to someone else who may be able to help us with something, with one thing. And that has been the joy of the Women's STEM Jumpstart program, which is absolutely passed well and truly all the expectations that we had set for that program. It's far exceeded anything we thought we would achieve with that program. And it has been the connection and the network people have made. And they've been enduring. They're still going, and we know that they will endure. They are strong, enduring networks and connections where people are still getting the benefit from having had that moment to build build their resources, broaden their thinking through making connection. Just that one thing alone can actually be that key first step.
Yeah, it's having a buddy, isn't it? Often to be able to challenge you, to be a sounding board, to be able to encourage you to have a crack at something, to be able to identify some other things you might not have thought about, introduce you to someone who might be of value. It's so important. And I don't know if you're seeing this, but I see it a lot that so many women try and do things on their own, almost try and perfect it to a point where, they haven't taken anyone on the journey even of concept idea and even getting it to a place where they might have invested even quite a lot of their time and money. And that is when, it's often become hard for them to take on other ideas and to let go of something that they've almost got attached to. I've been guilty of that myself, where, I've thought this is definitely the way it's got to go, and I'll get it to this point before I get anyone else to waste their time and money on this until I know I've got it right. That kind of thinking. But it's actually not a healthy way of actually getting a venture established.
Yeah, the more we can actually embrace the ideas of different people and bring diversity in, and you're right, bringing it in early, bringing that sense of diversity in thinking, even in the way we might approach solving problems, it's clear that success comes from when we bring diversity into our teams, whether that be cultural diversity, thinking, different ways of thinking, we bring that into our team, even just in the way we might plan a business, methodically step out, different options, different scenarios. And that does require the ability to almost let go of a little bit, to let go at some point of a rigid idea, like you're saying, when you're locked onto something. And it can be that we're too rigid, and we do, having clarity and focus, I call it the laser beam, is really important. And we need to be able to communicate that clearly to enable others to come in. Because if we don't, people are going to get lost and a bit confused and a bit disheartened, and they will slowly drift off. So we do need to have that clarity and that laser beam, that strong focus. At the same time, how we get there, how the business evolves, how it starts, that can take different aspects on. And if we just let ourselves go with our own, I got to do it all kind of attitude or approach, which can be a strength, but also can be a weakness as well. And we enable others to come in and contribute something that they're good at. And it's this concept that I like what you're touching on, which is playing to our strengths. And we use that as a tool in all the work that we do now, pretty much, is to identify what are your unique strengths as an individual or a team. And we play to them, because we know that when we're working to our strengths to help solve those problems you're talking about, stay on track, but, look at diversity, we actually all do well. And we don't have to worry about what our personal weakness might be, because we're playing to our strength. And that can be a great help for a business starting up.
Absolutely, I agree, and it really does help a brand and a team to identify then, where their best play and their sector or their segment is to be, owning. So many businesses will go, well, everyone will benefit from this or whatever, but it's really important to own a little part of the market and grow out from there. Quite often. Thinking about technology, you mentioned about this importance of being digitally connected. That's obviously lends itself then to the technology piece. What is it that you're seeing as the role of technology in breaking down some of these barriers for women in rural and regional areas?
Yeah, it's an area that I'm really passionate about and encourage everyone to explore in more detail, definitely. What I think, COVID was not a great thing, but one of the benefits or upsides of COVID has been this ability for people to work from home. This ability, we've kind of shifted our mind to make it possible to really approach things differently and enable the work from home. That to me has been a crucial mindset shift that got an injection of, or acceleration of change and an adoption of change really quickly because of COVID. We were doing it before, but it has now become something that is a good option, not just a good option, it's one of the best options. And it has enabled rural people and many, many, many rural women. I could list any number of women that are running businesses alongside another existing business from home. So our own marketing is done from Sam Maroney based in Kojonup. So family farming, Kojonup, marketer, now living regionally. She does all our marketing. So these opportunities, because of digital and being connected digitally, and the opportunity that mindset combining with the technology can bring together. So many small startups can be based regionally now, more so than before. There's more tolerance for it. There's more acceptance for it. And there's, as I said, there's a mindset for it. Telehealth, that has been a key change for people to not have to leave their communities to get some essential services that people living in Metro Perth don't think about. Driving 5 minutes to a local GP in Perth versus driving hours, if you're lucky to have a local GP in regional, rural, remote WA. And if you want to even drill down further, an area that I get really excited about is the use of ag tech in agriculture, where the Internet of Things, so IoT, which is just how we connect a whole bunch of objects and things via data and via internet, where we can have sensors on a remote trough and a remote tank to measure water, to check if I actually have to leave to go check on it. We can have sensors on gates to open and close them, sensors on sheep to monitor actually where the livestock actually is. So the Internet of Things, we've got blockchain technology that's revolutionizing and creating more trust and automation in supply chains, so that we can actually monitor the things we produce in agriculture, the food we create, so it doesn't get modified. It hits the end users, the customer, in its authentic state. It's not being contaminated. It's not being stolen along the way and rebranded as something it isn't, or if it's honey diluted with artificial sweetness, it's the true product. That's all coming through technology. And that is enabling rural people to do those things easier and with lower cost, with more time efficiency, all based in their own communities. Or it's enabling them to leave those rural remote properties to go do other things, whether that be training, education, or family things as well. So I see adopting a digital mindset as really key to helping rural women create thriving, flourishing, even small entrepreneurial businesses, or even those that they want to scale up, existing businesses, older businesses that need some transformation as well.
And for those listeners who are interested in learning more about this, I mean, where do they start? What are the avenues to upskill in the digital opportunities that might be relevant to their own ventures, whether it's agribusiness or whether or not they've got a manufacturing business or a service business in town? Where would you be, pointing them to sort of to ensure that they're upskilling and looking at the opportunities that are around?
Yeah, certainly in agriculture, there is a great connected community of grower groups that represent individual, sectors of agriculture. or locations, geographic-based locations as well. So certainly connecting, and this comes back to that network and connection bit as well. You've got to start with that. Join your association that represents who you are. If you're in food production, or if you're in agriculture, or if you're in, education or mining, resources or health, you've got to join those associations, those community groups that can help guide and represent you. And then they can, give you the follow-on information as to where you might go specifically. But there are great organisations like Business Women Australia, right, who have got an amazing connection of others that you can refer people to. You've got groups like Women in Technology WA, WITWA, and we're a great supporter of Kay Hargraves, who's doing amazing things promoting women in technology, and that extends outwards from the city as well. There are some hubs as well, so innovation hubs in regional locations. Again, you've got to reach out and create that first connection that's going to then open it up. Otherwise, there's always government support, but again, you've got to find the right one. And we're finding that there's always a need. People think, another government-funded program. Why do we need another government-funded program? But people are evolving and coming on board all the time. We can't just get one cohort skilled up and think we're done. Yeah. There's another cohort, another group, another demographic. It has to be continuous. And we can't just rest after, yes, we've had great success at Value Creators with our Women's STEM Jumpstart program, but we're now actively seeking, how can we bring in some new partners? How can we expand our collaboration? How can we get more funding, more financing to keep that program going or build on from it? Because, they can't be once off. Building capacity for women, building leadership, building resilience, and I'm actually nudging the resilience kind of component into endurance, Lyn. We need to think about moving from resilience to endurance.
Yeah.
So not just coping, which kind of resilience has a sense of, but really building long-term endurance. So, we're passionate about seeing women entrepreneurs, because that's rare. Women entrepreneurs are rare. You want to find women entrepreneurs in STEM-based fields, even rarer. So we get very passionate about that because, that's going to drive our economy. It's going to drive growth. It's going to drive our innovation, and we're not using it to the capacity we can. And a lot of that can be done from the regions. And I want to touch on one inspiring, person who's doing great things is Mandy Walker. And Mandy was the 2024 WA Rural Woman of the Year and performed extremely well at the National Awards also. So Mandy has seen the need for all of the business growth we're talking about in regional WA. She's very passionate about regional business growth in WA. And she has seen this opportunity with what's happening with defence and the amount of spend that is about to go ahead with the new defence contract in WA, that it's going to blow our mind as to what that will bring to the WA economy. So Mandy's championing, let's bring some of that to regional WA, to the wheat belt, to the Midwest. And I think that level of mindset and shift in thinking is where change can happen. And we need to hear more of that. We need to see more of that, and we need to encourage more of that. What we don't want to see and hear is to tear it down, because we're all too quick to jump into that'll never work. We tried it once. Who thinks that'll work? That'll never take off. We've got to embrace it. And to your point, enable that diversity of ideas and thinking. So there's that to me, that example of that entrepreneurial zest and spirit. If you can put structure and strategy to that, and connection and collaboration, we can actually have flourishing businesses based in the region and led by female entrepreneurs.
It's an exciting opportunity for women. I mean, are there any specific sectors or areas that you see as really great opportunities for women who are looking to get something up and running?
Yeah, I'm almost flipping things around the other way now in my own thinking, from being, that traditional focus of having an industry lens. I need to be in health, I need to be in education, I need to be in agriculture, I need to be in mining or resources, and flipping it to potentially what are the essential skills I need that can go across multiple industry sectors, rather than just being singularly focused on one industry, but thinking about what are the skills I need to build, not just the experiences that I generate along the way, or the job titles, or the kind of things I talk about, but what are the skills I'm gathering and building the whole time that can traverse across, so that you become even more useful, so that you can actually apply, and there's great examples of businesses doing this. So we now have a thing called a drone pilot. It's a thing. You can be trained and skilled at being a drone pilot. Now, you don't just have to stay in resources. That skill of being a drone pilot is being applied to agriculture to great success, to measure soil fertility, to measure, water holding capacity of soil, to measure plant growth, to measure all sorts of things, from disease monitoring, even application of chemical can be done from a drone. Really zeroing in on the actual location of weeds. So there's all sorts of things that can be crossed over, but it's the skill of flying a drone and then applying that thinking and that innovation and that kind of solution focus, that adaptability to problems in other areas. And I think that can be really useful for business, for female entrepreneurs, and for regionally based businesses as well, rather than just going, agriculture always competes with mining and resources. Well, let's have a look at how can we take some of the skill, some of the knowledge, and apply it to problems over here, adjacent, that may never see one another. And we can actually become quite innovative, quite adaptable, and quite useful, which can be real market
great
opportunity.
Example. It's such a great example. So one of the things that you did raise earlier on was the importance of those communities. I mean, communities that support each other, communities are made up of groups of people who, have a shared purpose or a shared intention, or just by way of being located together geographically. They were very important networks for me growing up, and you've alluded to them still being vital to support rural women in business. How do they balance their roles with their businesses and their communities and the needs of their families, and being separated with where they're wanting to go intentionally with their business goals? And what support systems do you think are really successful, that are tied up with them and their success and their communities?
Yeah, it's one of the things that we've kept hearing a lot when people have come into our Women's STEM Jumpstart program and in other programs that we've delivered and in all our connection is, how do I juggle, the demands of, if it's family or it might be community volunteer work, with the idea of actually creating my own financial success and a viable business. And that guilt that can often come with, the time away from family, etc. So again, a lot of that comes back to, the mindset to think about how you are going to achieve your goal and what it means at the end when you do achieve the goal. And one of the key things that we inject into that process of thinking about things and planning things and really setting your goals and then nutting out how do I achieve them, we inject in there mentoring. And we have found that to be one of the biggest and most important factors to help with success. So that enduring success, that resilience we build and the endurance that we can create to get there. And what that mentoring can achieve as well is people can actually visually see others who have done it before or are doing it now. So, Witwa, the Women in Technology WA, use that lovely slogan, if you can see her, you can be her. So that is such a great motto. And mentoring, and it doesn't mean mentoring always is an older person with a younger person, not at all. I've got mentors who are much younger than me. And they are really important in my mentor structure. And I've got mentors who are much older than me, and they continue to inspire. And that's across lots of different aspects of what I do. So we deliberately inject mentoring and coaching into our programs. And it is that uplift of support to just, give people that visual of it is possible. Reach in, lean in, and to your analogy with the pebble stones, take those first steps. So, and what mentoring does as well, it really can inspire people to stay committed to what they want to do, and that it's okay if you go away from family. And you might find other support structures rise to the occasion around you to actually enable that to happen. You may then reach out and find that there are other parts of your network that can help you solve the problem. Because if you want it, you will go and find a solution. That's the other thing. The mentoring can talk people through the permission that it's okay to do that. And same when we apply it, and we take it a step further and we look at actually doing one-on-one coaching with people as well, that it can actually motivate and inspire.
Well, the most successful people I know have all got coaches, leadership coaches, executive coaches, business coaches. And I think, once upon a time, I can remember, it wasn't that long ago, it was before I really understood the power of coaching, that I used to be a bit sort of skeptical of coaching. And coming from a management consulting and a professional advisory background, I was like, what's going on with all this coaching? And it is so important. And I've been coached by some incredible women. I'm a coach too. You're coaching. So important. When we talk about the resilience, going from resilience to endurance, I love that concept, Ann Maree, and I think you're spot on with that. I think playing the long game, that then raises, the issue around being able to adapt, and adaptability is I think that key to resilience, being able to be nimble enough to be able to change directions when you need to. What are your thoughts on that, and what sort of role do you see women playing in that, in those rural and regional settings?
It's interesting you talk about that concept of adaptability, because in needing to look at building the skills that we have, not just our experience or our job title or our name of our business, but really building the skills that we need to adopt technology, adopt a digital mindset. Adaptability is one of those crucial, skills, and we need to think about our ability to collaborate as well. We need to think about our ability to have a growth mindset and our growth potential. And we need to focus on how we make decisions, how we prioritize. They are really important traits that we all need to bring, to make sure that we can, not just in that short game. They are all important aspects, leadership, cultural fit. We can't just always, be that outlier. We have to also look at how are we culturally going to get this fit so that we can play that long game to really offer a product in a market, a service in a market that is not just for now, but is going to be something that is still in demand, still, customers are looking for it well into the future. So to navigate that, because that can be quite a potted road and an up and down one, your word adaptability is probably top, really one of those key things that we need. But if we can also embrace being a leader, absolutely embrace the mindset of being a leader. And Maree Gooch always talks about, you don't need a title to be a leader. And I think that that's a really good lesson for anyone in life, whether they be a child, a young adult or a much older person. We don't need to be given a title to be a leader. We can all be a leader. And if we embrace it and let go of the tall poppy, the tear it down kind of component, or the I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, if we can let go of some of that, that's going to enable us to actually create longevity in rural, regional, female-led businesses where they actually have that resilience and that level of endurance. Me, my pet love is endurance sport. So I always use that analogy of, if you want to run a marathon, you don't get to the start line unless you've built up a level of endurance. And that endurance in a marathon kicks in at 30 kilometers. Because that's when it sucks, that's when it gets hard, that's when you want to cry and fall on the side of the road and rock on in the fetal position and not get up. So that's endurance. And you can take that analogy into business as well. Many people hit 30 Ks and it's that 5-year, isn't it? And you would see it with all of your amazing work in Business Women Australia. Somewhere between 2 years and 5 years, we hit 30 Ks, 32 Ks. And we have not got the endurance for that essential bit to create a long-standing business. So we need to plan for that. We need to build that. And being innovative, I will say it again, that digital mindset, that concept of embracing the opportunities that data, because data is knowledge, so we need to embrace how we deal with data, how we collect and gather and store data and analyze data and use data, that technology that comes with, digital mindset and the innovation that can bring, because they're going to be key components. So to, your question around, what are the key sectors or industries, those sorts of things can be applied to many different sectors and industries. And I think that in itself can create massive opportunity.
Absolutely. Well. The concept of leadership's an interesting one too, and it's almost probably, it's probably an episode in its own right. If we delve down, maybe I'll get you and Maree back to talk about leadership, and how we define leaders, because I'm listening to you describing, the type of character, the type of person and what she does to be the leader. It's not a title. It's about her attitude, her mindset, her behavior. She's self-determined. She's taking ownership to take that step forward. She's having the courage to make a mistake and to learn from it, to see what's next. She's learning and she's curious about what these new things are and prepared to endure, even though it's hard. This technology might be tricky, but if someone else can learn it, she knows she's got a brain that is going to eventually work it out, even if it sounds like a foreign language. Eventually, if she's around it enough and absorbing it, her brain, to trust her brain is going to work it out. I'll never forget the feeling I had in my first Accounting 100 lectures and shoots, at UW. Econs, I was fine because I'd done at Econs as a part of what was then the TAE, our ATAR. But accounting was all new to me. It was like double Dutch. And it didn't seem to make sense. I remember thinking, these are on this side of the door and those are on that side of the door, and debits and credits. And it was double Dutch. And then it took till third semester. It took me to fail halfway through and to keep sticking at it to finally get enough to pass at the end of the year. And I am often reminded when I'm around new tech and a new program or some new software to get my head around, to remind myself that my brain, just to trust my brain, it will eventually work it out. Don't get in the way of my brain. Don't let my story about this, like I'm old and this is pretty, maybe I've learned enough, and all these little silly stories that pop into, someone that's, getting too close to the 60 side rather than the 50 side. But to say, hey, my brain's still really healthy and it's going to work it out. It's the same brain that helped me get to here. There's so many characteristics about what it is that identifies a leader and identifies, that leadership trait. And I'd love to unpack that at some time. But let's do that another time. Let's go into sort of some of the initiatives and the strategies that you believe that are going to amplify these voices and connections and community for rural women going forward. I mean, we've heard about this great success of the STEM Jumpstart program and other things. What's coming up? What's in the landscape? What are the next initiatives that you can see or you'd like to see happen?
Yeah, I think the key always for value creators and I don't just mean in terms of the work we do, but our values, if you like, and what we see works is collaboration and partnership. And that is a leadership trait. Collaboration and partnership is well and truly a strong leadership trait. And to your point, that you don't have to do it all alone. And I think that projects that bring together different parties, different partners that you can collaborate with, that to me is going to lead to success. I had one of those light bulb moments a few years ago where I thought we had done enough. I thought now, women entrepreneurs, women leaders, I thought we'd done enough. I was maybe thinking a bit like that. Do we need more women leadership development programs? And I had a really clear light bulb moment. We're always going to need tailored, specific programs that are delivered for women entrepreneurs. And take that a step further to regional, rural, remote women entrepreneurs. Take it even one step further to those based in STEM, because we've already mentioned that women entrepreneurs are underrepresented. Women entrepreneurs in STEM-based fields are rare. And STEM's a broad field. That might be another conversation, Lyn, but STEM isn't just about neatly bundling science, technology, engineering and maths into that acronym. It really is a lot more. Everything we do, you're in STEM. We're using it now. We're using technology now. And this development of this technology is enabling us to connect right now, and that there's a network of people that will watch now and later. So we need to be able to collaborate. We need to be able to have partnerships, and we need to have continually evolving programs that are written specifically for women, regionally based and entrepreneurs. So the cost, this is a key initiative. The cost needs to be built in because there's a greater cost. If you have to travel from a remote pastoral property in the Murchison to attend a training program, a professional development program, a entrepreneur-based program in Drelton or Carnarvon or Perth, there's a cost. There's childcare. There's travel. There's all of that associated stuff. So we need to have policy initiatives that actually acknowledge that and build that into program delivery. And with our Women's STEM Jumpstart program, we were amazed to actually get that support from the federal government through the Office for Women and the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. So that was extraordinary to get that support to actually fully fund that. But it had its limitations as well. So we need to actually continually build on, the success of that program, for example, and there's many others that are delivered elsewhere, and take all the good concepts and then, build on from where the gaps were, from where the limiting factors were. Because we know if you can contribute a bit to a remotely based female to attend quality training or pay for that training to be delivered locally, even better, there's a great response. And that was critical feedback that we had Thank you for coming to Esperance. Thank you for coming to Kalgoorlie, Karratha, Albany, Kununurra, Carnarvon, because we don't often get quality professional development really targeted like this is coming local. And then there'd be all those people saying, I didn't hear about it and I missed out, because often people self-select and don't think that they're worthy of attending such a program, and then they hear about it after it started. And of course, now we've got people that want to come and do it, but we actually need additional funds to actually go meet that need and that demand. So I think that from a policy initiative, we need to really, that was a light bulb for me. We need to continually evolve and adapt and build programs that do target female entrepreneurs that are regionally based. I think that's essential. And we need to look into that quality mentoring and quality coaching.
So we'll be watching very carefully what the policies are. The next federal election, I'm sure, Ann Maree, and I bet if I know you and Maree well, as I do, you'll be lobbying hard to make sure that this stays on the agenda, that rural, regional and remote women don't miss out, that the good work that you've been doing and that other organisations have been doing, and our friends at the Triple R Network and all our rural regional networks around Australia, have been so focused. I've spent a lot of time. We get a lot of women jumping onto our webinars, sharing their stories from all corners of this nation. And it really is quite extraordinary, the momentum that's been built. And I would just hope that this next government, whoever is fortunate in being able to serve our country, listens to this and keeps the momentum growing and actually amplifies it. Because, we're really only at, if we think of it as a normal distribution curve or a growth strategy, we're really at the beginning. We haven't even gone halfway up the mountain. I would love to see real focus and serious funding to go into the programs like those that Value Creators have been so successful in delivering. To wrap up, I can't believe it. We wondered if we would get 20 minutes together, Ann Maree. I could be sitting here chatting to you all day. I'd love to have a radio show where we could just sit and bring you in as our guests for the day. But we're coming to the end of our gorgeous podcast. For those of you who have missed it or just can see some people tuning in at different times, we'll be housed on YouTube. It'll be across whatever channel you are, whether you're a Spotify listener or you're on iTunes. We're also housed on our website. And we would love you to like and subscribe the Business Women Australia channel on whatever it is channel that is your favourite one, so that you don't miss any of our conversations. We're aiming this year to really blitz our show. Last year we had regular monthly podcast interviews. This year we're going for weekly. So it's going to be extraordinary, the kinds of subjects and topics that we cover with our leading members in Business Women Australia. We source all our expertise from within our own community. It's quite an extraordinary national community of leaders. Before we wrap up, I'd just love to hear what your future hopes and your vision for Value Creators is.
Oh, wow, future hopes. To have as much impact as we have had over the last 4 or 5 years, to continue, as you said, to climb that mountain, to continue to have that positive impact. I mean, that drives us, motivates us. It's our passion, and especially across, the digital technology and agriculture and rural regional growth and prosperity. And from Value Creators' point of view, we just want to keep having a massive impact and partner with more, collaborate more, and create change.
Brilliant. So anyone who wants to collaborate, wants to partner, wants to help fund these kinds of programs, who can see opportunities that together can actually make the bigger impact and help women achieve their goals and their dreams across the rural, regional and remote areas of Australia, particularly in the entrepreneurial STEM space, reach out to Ann Maree. She's on our directory. She's on LinkedIn. She'll be in the show notes. Please don't hesitate to keep this conversation going. And if there's anything that you can think that Business Women Australia can do to help amplify that impact and ensure the success of businesswomen across the nation, please reach out to me. And I'm on the directory as well, and very available at lyn@businesswomenaustralia.com.au. And your website, Ann Maree?
valleycreators.com.au.
Excellent. Okay, it'll be in the show notes in any case.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show. We'll get you back on. I'm dying to hear, more of your thoughts around leadership and some of those issues around and opportunities around what STEM really is, and then what those digital technologies and opportunities are for rural, remote and regional business women. Thanks, Ann Maree.
Thanks, Lyn.
You have been listening to the Business Women Australia podcast show. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode and gained some valuable insights to empower you on your journey. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe to stay updated in our latest episodes. And if you're not already a member of Business Women Australia, what are you waiting for? Head to our website today and join so that you can connect with a thriving community of inspiring women across Australia. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.